Okay, welcome. You've come to the podcast, Raising Capable
Children, kids,
Humans.
I like humans because I think
Yeah,
we're all equal.
Raising Capable Humans podcast. I'm Phil Voysey. I'm a business owner. I run workshops for men in their midlife, helping them to negotiate and navigate all the challenges that provides, and helping them to navigate midlife challenges with meaning, vitality and joy. I'm also a teacher of 30 years experience and a parent. So I bring all those things to this podcast. So welcome to the podcast. Jason Greca will introduce himself in a second, my partner in this venture. We're looking to provide insights into how to raise children and help them to thrive in an AI future.
We're in a future.
So with that, I'm going to hand over to Jason.
Oh, g'day, mate.
You want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
We'll keep it nice and casual. Yeah, so I'm Jason Greca. You may remember me from such films as, the Capable Organisation, a few other texts that I've written and put out there to the universe. But yeah, my background as well is teaching. Like, I'm actually a high school teacher by trade, and I've spent a fair portion of my career in classrooms, be they K-12 or higher education, more recently higher education. Working with future teachers in how to teach and adopt technology to, empower their students to be successful no matter what the world brings us. And subsequently, I've worked in technology. So, my career journey started in Japan in higher ed. And yeah, I implemented learning management systems. I was literally one of the first people in the world to do that at a university at scale. And then that led to me working for Instructure for Canvas learning management system. I was, again, one of the first people in the world to not be in a sales role outside of the United States, and did all the technical implementations for hundreds of institutions in the region. And then I've worked for Microsoft, where I led teams for education engineering. And then after that, higher education experiences, where we were looking after the whole Microsoft stack, basically. Right. And yeah, from there, I've worked for federal government, helping them implement things like the National Skills Passport, or at least think about the architecture for that and what it may or may not do, and some of the legislative requirements that should be around tools, which could both serve good and evil, depending on how you would utilize them. And Department of Education, and currently I work full time as well at a major university here in Sydney. And yeah, like you, I'm a business owner. I run multiple businesses. I think I've got six businesses running at any one point in time.
Only six, Jason?
Only six.
Only six. Where do you find time in the day?
It's called nighttime. It's good night. And yeah, like I write prolifically. Like I've actually recently just fallen back in love with the art of writing. Mm-hmm. And I think in a world where most of the writing that you see is just so superficial, it's like I'm going deeper and deeper down rabbit holes, which I think you and I share common interest in. Like I'm actually started writing a lot about the ancient wisdom of like Lao Tzu and some of the Chinese philosophers and some Hindu philosophers. And, just to see that, 2,500 years ago, they gave us some pretty valuable lessons in what we could be thinking about today in technology adoption.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's where I come in. And yeah, like you, I'm a parent, I've got 2 kids, and yeah, I see a world where the education system is just not preparing kids for any kind of future.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because we're working on a book together at the moment called Raising Capable Humans, I should say, and the first chapter is called Slow Suffocation of Your Child's Potential.
Yeah,
which is a pretty provocative title.
It's true. Let's be totally honest. The education system as it currently stands is built principally for an industrial revolution or an industrial age where we're producing products, being children, products that could go out to the workforce and work in a factory or work a white-collar job and, do these things that are now increasingly not relevant to the future economy. And it removes, I believe, intentionally removes the key elements of humanity that we will need to thrive when everything else is automated.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it's the education system. In the book, we talk about the fact that students are being taught skills that are just going to be replaced by AI anyway.
They already are, to some extent.
Already are. So in some ways, we're saying that the education system, the way it operates now, has become obsolete.
Yeah, and I mean, if we'd sort of, as we would have said at Microsoft, double click on what education actually does. And, for the parents in the audience that are listening to this, they may not have a deep awareness of what gets taught in classrooms. Like they see their children go to school each morning, possibly if they're not heading to the office. They see that their kids sometimes have homework, sometimes, but they don't really know what's covered. And primarily it's content driven, right? Like the curriculum here in New South Wales and in Australia, the curriculum is quite dense with content, like learning facts and figures, and
there's been a movement back towards this in recent years.
It's actually increased. Like the emphasis on we need to deliver these particular topics across a broad array of things is detrimental to providing the space to be creative and to make judgment calls. Right.
I remember Jason, my daughter Maya, coming back from school one day, and she'd coloured in a rabbit. This is in preschool or first class, I'm not sure which. But she'd coloured in a rabbit green, and the teacher had come along and said, no, rabbits are grey and white. Which is not true either, because they're brown and all sorts of colours, rabbits. But it just highlighted the fact that, creativity is sort of it's
been
trampled on. And Ken Robertson is a famous educationalist who talks about this a lot, saying that basically schools and education is squeezing creativity out of our children.
Yeah, and what is it to be human? Is it to remember facts about things? Now, don't get me wrong. I think there is enormous value in understanding history, and I think it's something that as you get older, you appreciate cycles of history and how history, leads to where we are today. But when it comes to, do you really need to know the dates at which things occurred as opposed to the themes and
you can just Google it, mate, can't you?
Or you can chat GPT or Claude, all of that shit, right? Like, do you need do you actually need to now know? And don't get me wrong, I love writing, and I think we need to emphasis on creative writing and creativity and things like that in the classroom. But do you need to know how to interrogate, and break apart and to do all of these things that they do in a classroom around? I don't know, like it to me it seems insane that we spend so much time on content versus the humanity, the creative performing arts. And I have a bit of a soapbox on this, and I've written a lot about it for anyone that follows me on LinkedIn, or the most cringe place on earth. But it's the fact that our government is essentially removing the arts as options in higher
we
education.
talk about STEM, we don't talk about STEAM. There's no art in there, is there?
No, but when the computer can do the engineering for you, when the computer can write the code for you, when the computer can do the mathematical reasoning for you, really the one element that's remaining is creativity, right?
And critical thinking.
And critical thinking. And, I call that
problem-solving skills.
I call that judgment. I put it under the broad banner of judgment.
Yeah.
But, being able to take lots of different options that are out there and then using your internalized judgment to decide which is the better of the 1,000 options that AI presents you. And that's through, productive failure. That's through making lots of decisions and seeing things and being exposed to a broad world and having time to synthesize that versus I know all the content on the planet.
So I mean, it's always curious to me. I mean, this seems obvious to us, Jason, sitting here talking about it. We've worked in education a long time. Why isn't it bloody obvious to people in the education system that this needs to be done?
Yeah,
what's stopping that happening?
I'll try not to use profanity, but the reality, the hard reality is most of the people that work in the higher echelons of education and make decisions around curriculum and make decisions around the economy, because ultimately that's where it stems from. It's like you have the people that are looking at what we need as an economy cascading that down to the departments of education, saying this is what we need to teach our kids for future thinking. They actually have no idea about economics, or B, what the future is looking like, because they don't talk to industry. They don't talk to the experts. So they think they do, and they think they know what we need. And I'll give you a classic example of this.
Yep.
There was a study that was done in 2024, might have been 2025, here in Australia, that basically says that 80% of future occupations will require a university qualification. That's obviously bullshit, right?
Yes.
So, and for many, many, many different reasons. Like, it's sort of assumed that in order for the economy to accelerate, we would need more information workers, more thinkers, more people, I don't know, doing spreadsheets, which is what information workers probably. And AI just took that and said, sorry, you don't need that anymore. So all the things that we're teaching in university, all of the crap that we teach kids how to do in the higher ed sector are entirely irrelevant now. I mean, that's an over-exaggeration. There are certainly elements to higher education, but the content that we teach.
Can you drill down a little bit more on that, on what are those things that we're teaching in schools and in universities that you think are now obsolete?
Anything that is information, anything that is content, anything, because content is cheap. You know, learning how to manipulate numbers, pattern recognition, that sort of stuff is automatable, and it will be automated, and it is automated today. Teaching students how to write code is, I think, has its value, but do all students in all schools need to know how to understand coding? I don't think that's true anymore. If you have an innate interest and passion, or ability for engineering and coding, great, awesome. You will absolutely succeed into the future, because there will always need to be people that know the architecture and deeply understand what the machines are doing. But for the average person, we are now seeing a complete democratization of coding, right? Where any person with an idea that can sort of articulate the taste of that idea can build a really outstanding product, and do so in a way that would cost tens of millions of dollars previously.
Right.
Yeah, maybe for $20-$30 you could spin something up. And I think the overemphasis of the core content production skills of information workers is what we focus on very heavily in higher education. We have removed, and especially after COVID, we have removed the bringing of humans from diverse backgrounds together to contemplate difficult topics. Right? That doesn't happen in universities anymore. You've got multidisciplinary faculties used to come together, right? They used to literally sit in a square and argue with one another. That does not exist.
No.
It's like you learn how to do engineering, and these are the cool...
It's very vocational, very transactional
and
universities these days, isn't it?
And it is, right? And it's vocational in a sense that you're prepared for a vocation that won't exist in 2 years' time.
Yeah, because the federal government a few years ago, the previous Liberal government, made it extortionately expensive to do an arts degree.
Incredible. It's like $17,000 or something, right? Is it per annum? Or it's like insane.
And made it very cheap for people to do vocational courses. So reorienting the whole focus of university education towards producing people for a job, for the industrial model that you talked about before, Jason.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the model of higher ed. And this is, I work in the sector, and you work in the sector as well. And what I see increasingly is, well, not increasingly, but it's just the inertia of a large institution.
It can't change.
It can't change.
Can't change. And
I had a conversation I think it was yesterday, the day before, and I'm trying to really think about what modern curriculum needs to be. That is the thing that I'm focusing on very heavily at the moment in my day job. And learning that it takes 24 months to go from an idea to a course or a subject offering is just utterly
insane,
right? We now need to be in a world where, sure, the graduate attributes that we're looking for, like the key values that we espouse, are adhered to, and that's what we deliver upon graduation. But the nitty-gritty of the subject offerings and the course structures, that needs to be almost real time. Because even within the last 5 days, the technology has shifted, right? And which is why we need to be on top of this stuff, and why, in our, if anyone's interested, we've got a Substack which talks about the capable parent, all of that sort of stuff. That we need to keep writing and keep bringing that out there and sort of distilling the noise that's out there into things that are actually actionable, because it's changing so quickly. And even I, someone who's deeply embedded in the technology, get taken by surprise. Just, again, sort of going off on a tangent here, but this also extends to vocational education. So here in Australia, like the TAFEs, in the Northern America, you call them like vocational colleges or whatever. And I was on a MortarCaps panel. So MortarCaps is sort of like a data model sort of shared thing that all universities, if they adhered to, would be able to do recognition of prior learning, all that stuff really, really easy. Like it's a fantastic idea. But I was on a panel, and in that panel we had higher ed representation and also vocational education representation. And we debated around the future of careers, and someone who I deeply respect on the panel from the vet sector was, I would be telling kids now to go and become a plumber or become a tradesperson or do these things. And I debated on that time, and this is 12 months ago, that's very short-term thinking, because I know that certain robotics teams across particularly China, where I spent a fair bit of time, and across the United States, are working towards a world where those sorts of occupations can be automated through robotics. And they laughed it off. They basically thought I was a moron when I said that. And just 3 days ago, and I don't know if you saw this, Phil, the Kung Fu robots in China. Now, last I checked, the average human can't do Kung Fu. Right, they can't hold a sword and act like a Kung Fu actor from a, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, David Carradine.
Yeah, but we now have robots that can, right? So you can't tell, and, just 12 months ago, they were spinning plates and everyone was like, oh, holy shit, this is amazing.
Well, it amazes to me that anybody would pretend to imagine that something can't happen in the future.
Yeah, so just imagine this, where, we're telling our kids, go be a plumber, or go be a builder, a bricklayer, whatever. You're great in the short term, don't get me wrong. I think you've probably got a couple of years, maybe. But we've seen a jump from robots that can spin plates to robots that can now do Kung Fu with the full agility, if not better agility, than 99% of the human population. So within 12 months from now, I guarantee we can program a robot to lay a brick. I guarantee we'll have robots that are able to fix a tap. I guarantee we'll have robots that can do your light bulb changes and put up a ceiling fan. Right. Like, I guarantee that will happen. And if I was a business owner, and up here in the mountains, we've got quite a few tradespeople with large businesses, why would I risk investing in an apprentice who ostensibly knows nothing about nothing, right? They're a child out of school. Yeah. They fall off ladders. There's all sorts of risks involved in it. They cost money. They drop out, midway through their apprenticeship, or things don't like. It's a risk for a business owner. I can go and buy a robot for $100,000 that will work 24/7. It will go out to a 2 a.m. call out, fix the problem, and make me money, right? So why would I not take that option? And that's why Muskie is pivoting hard away from electric cars into robotics, because that's where the future is. Amazon have already automated a large portion of their distribution networks. Yeah. China has automated distribution from production through to delivery now. The whole thing is automated end to end. That technology won't take long to catch on elsewhere, because it's ultimately more affordable, and it's where the economy is going. So the question is, with all of this stuff, both the physical and the content production being automated or AI'd away, what is the value of humans in the loop? Yeah, that's the big question. And that's the gap. And that is the thing that we need to figure out collectively. And I don't think anyone truly has. I mean, you and I have some general ideas about what we think we need to focus on. But the education system has no frigging idea, and they have no intention of pivoting, which is why I think our book hopefully is the starting point of a discourse for parents to go, okay, well, actually, we need to either do something ourselves to make sure our kids are prepared, or maybe we need to start pushing upon the leadership to say we need to pivot our education sectors, because we are just not going to do enough quickly enough to support them. Yeah, but there are some ideas. We've got lots of ideas in the book of things that we should be working on, things such as emotional intelligence, things such as creativity, things
things such as critical thinking,
judgment, taste,
solving.
accountability. If you nested under 3 core topics, they're the 3 things that
would be, I suppose, what we would call perennials.
Yeah.
Really, in terms of
absolutely
whatever the future looks like in terms of AI automating a lot of those jobs we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be those human capabilities that are desperately needed.
Absolutely. Yep. And for me, the one that I like to talk about the most is, well, there are 3, but taste, I think it talks to a lot of those points, and it's very, very hard to define. And as you know, and you're a musician as well, you know, you've read a lot, you've traveled a lot, you've experienced a lot of things, right, in your life. And I think because of those lived experiences, you're able to tell the difference between what is like good versus what is excellent, right? There is something through lived experience and through the arts and performing and listening to music on a live stage that you just, and looking at visual arts and, you know, experiencing the emotional connection. I think that is the thing that schools need to focus on more, because when it comes to directing the AI, the human in the loop needs to tell the AI what's wrong and what is excellent versus what is just good enough. And that's where I think, you know, the highest earners in the future, that will be the differentiating factor.
Yeah. And communication skills. I mean, communication skills, which aligns with, you know, emotional intelligence, of course. I know from my own experience teaching students at university, international students, you know, we're teaching them to write essays, but as we were saying, that's almost becoming obsolete, that sort of skill.
Give me the prompt.
But they don't have the ability to talk and discuss and converse and communicate.
Yeah.
And they're the more crucial skills. I keep on saying to them, I said, look, guys, if you're going to focus on one thing while you're in Australia, become fluent in spoken English. Gain that fluency. I mean, you know, in terms of preparing you for the future, and in terms of you feeling comfortable in another culture, it's those listening and speaking skills that are crucial, and they're the skills that are going to carry you through into the jobs of the future
as well, right? Like,
cross-cultural
and
competency.
you sort of just touched on it for me. Like, and you know, we're both bilingual. Like we both speak different languages and different things. There's an element of language learning, and you know, I've taught TESOL as well, and you know that's your passion and background as well. Learning how to speak is important, and I totally agree that is the most fundamental thing that anyone could be learning if they're coming out to Australia. But also knowing the nuances of the culture, I think, is something that I'll be the most sad to see disappear, right? Like I could right now go to China and just get an app and it will automatically just translate everything for me. And that's great. Like I'll be able to communicate, but you're missing out on so much you know, that human connection that you get with someone that's had a different lived experience, right? And I am fearful that they're the sorts of things that are getting cut from our programs in school. Like nobody gives a shit about languages in school anymore.
No, it's a disappearing.
Yeah, because everyone just thinks it'll be automated away. We'll be like on Star Trek where we have our little, you know, communicators that we press and you'll just hear in your own native language whatever it is that the aliens or the Klingons are saying.
That's right. And
to me, that's deeply sad.
Yeah,
right? Because you lose a lot of that human connection, and it'll just make us all the same, which is not what it's about.
Yeah, I don't see that happening though.
I don't know. I think you know, increasingly in business, you have programmatic translation in meetings today. But
there's still. I mean, there's the surface level sort of similarity, but beneath that, there's a cultural difference in the way decisions are made, and you know, relationships and hierarchies and so on, and the way people do things.
But learning that is critical, right? Having the opportunity in the formal education system to see that. And I think there's a real opportunity. Like the technology exists now where we could be bringing people across the world together in like a higher ed sector, right? And they have these conversations and they tell their stories and their opinions, and you know, maybe the world would be a less shit place if we did that a little bit more frequently.
Yes.
Bring back international exchange. Why are we defunding some of these things? I had a very close friend of mine, hopefully I can get him on a call one day, Aki Noriseki, who's a professor at Tokyo Keizai University, come out, and I went and saw him at Western Sydney Uni. because he was doing like an exchange business trip kind of thing, and he was like nobody wants to go do international exchange anymore. Like it's
and there's a broader international trend towards closing the borders.
yeah, it's insane,
isn't there? I mean, we're basically made international students responsible for our housing crisis.
Yeah, because that's what the problem is. Yeah, sure.
International students. That's right.
Yeah.
And countries all over the world are closing their borders and making it harder to accept.
It is sad.
Refugees and migrants. And so we're going through a period of sort of closing down and getting the wagons in a circle and just keeping everybody out.
And that saddens me, man. Because
that is just
the best thing I've ever done with my kids. I was blessed in a sense that when I was working at Microsoft, there were lots of blessed and cursed. Like we did a lot of business trips, a lot throughout Asia, like a lot. And the good side of that was I got to take the family with me a lot of the time. Sure, you had to pay for their side of the things yourself, but that was fine. The fact that they got to immerse themselves in, lots of different cultures, lots of different countries, lots of different things. I think I will be sad if those those opportunities are not afforded to kids moving forward, or at least they're a little bit more difficult, and especially in higher education. I think that's such an important part of being a university student, is being able to travel and see what the rest of the world thinks. Yeah. People from the rest of the world come to your campus and you're like, wait a minute, you're telling me that everything I'm told about China is bullshit?
It's called curiosity, isn't it?
It's curiosity. You've nailed it, right? Curiosity. Where has that? We don't explicitly, we teach that out of kids.
Yes.
We teach it out of them.
That's
it's like
core thing, isn't it? Core
just
attribute.
Go learn this, and we talk about it in the first chapter, right? It's like you just adhere to whatever the plan is, and don't you dare learn how to ask questions. I don't want you asking questions. I want you just remembering the knowledge, and if you do have a question, it should be dang well about the content that I'm teaching.
Yeah, that's right.
Not like my children, they go and challenge the the underlying facts of was ancient Egypt really the start of it all? Or
I think there was something before that, wasn't there?
There was definitely something before. We should be going down some deep, dark rabbit holes on this podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's some of the missing ingredients.
Yeah, that's right. And look, all of this we're going to unpack in a lot more detail.
Oh, a lot more detail.
In coming weeks. If you're listening to this podcast, you should make sure you tune in. We're going to be talking, digging deeply into what the education of the future looks like and what our children need. And we've got a bit of a taste today from Jason. He's given a bit of a taste of what our book is about and what we're going to be talking about in future weeks.
Yeah, and if, again, come and find us on Substack and, communicate with us there. If there are things that you would like us to talk about, we would love to bring some of your ideas into the podcast as well.
Yeah. So, Jason, let's wrap it up for today, and we'll do it again next week.
Sounds like a plan, man.
Okay.
Absolute pleasure.
See you, everybody.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.